Um, all right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you to this 90-minute webinar on how to use social media to engage students in online and blended learning environments. Before we begin, I would like to check that everybody can hear me. On the right-hand side of your panel, you should be able to see a small hand symbol. Please click the hand symbol and put your hand up if you can hear me. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Miri, Mickey, Ninger, Or, Yael, Rima, Shadia. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, please put your hand up. Rima and Shadia. Can you hear me? Thank you, Rima. Shadia, if you can hear me, please put your hand up. Lynn, can you hear me? Lynn, if you can hear me, please put your hand up. All right. Thank you. Thank you. So let's look at what we're going to be covering today. We're going to discuss the benefits of using social media in online and blended learning environments. We're going to talk about how to effectively integrate social media into blended and online learning environments. We're going to discuss how social media can facilitate learning, how we can maximize learning outcomes using social media, how to engage learners in a social media enhanced learning environment. We're also going to discuss some common tasks conducted before and after the social media enhanced activity in order to maximize, or in order to effectively integrate social media into the classroom. Teachers should plan a few pre-computer or a few pre-social media and a few post-social media activities. So we're going to talk about how to effectively prepare students for the social media task. And finally, we're going to discuss how to align assessment with instruction, how to assess students after they've completed or handed in or submitted their social media task. Please note that during the webinar, we're going to be using two types of interactive tools. We have a poll tool and we have a chat. So please send your ideas or questions via chat. If you send us a message, Arya, Howie, and I will get back to you right away. All right, so let's launch our first poll question. We want to know what you teach. If you teach history, art, or music, click on letter A, humanities. If you're a biology or chemistry teacher, if you teach sciences, please click on the letter B. Please click on the letter C if you're an educator, if you teach instructional design, or if you're an instructional designer. If you're an EFL teacher, if you teach Spanish, French, English, Arabic, please click on the letter D. And if you're not an active teacher, and if you're a former teacher, click on the letter E. Please place your vote. I'll give you a few seconds to do this. All right, so it's A if you teach history, art, and music. B if you teach biology and chemistry. C if you teach instructional design, if you're an instructional designer. D if you're an EFL teacher, if you teach Spanish, French, Arabic, Chinese. And if you're not an active teacher, click on the letter E. All right. Okay. All right, so we can see that the most popular answer is C, education, which means that most of you are either teach instructional design or develop online courses, or you're instructional designers, which is great. All right, social media, ladies and gentlemen, has revolutionized communication. It has revolutionized business and even the way we interact day to day. A growing number of world leaders are using social media tools such as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Even President Donald Trump considers Twitter his favorite form of communication, and he tweets frequently, sometimes several times a day. So let's launch our second poll. And this time we want to know which social media tools you have used in your classroom or online teaching. If you have used or are using YouTube, please click on the letter A. If you're using Facebook, click on the letter B. If you're using wikis, select the letter D. And if you're using blogs, please click on the letter E. All right. So we want to know which social media tools you have used or you're using in your classroom, blended courses or online courses. All right, so please place your vote. I'll give you a few seconds to do this. Which social media tools have you used in your classroom or in your online teaching? All right. Is it YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wikis, or blogs? Which social media tools are you using or have you used for teaching and learning? Please place your vote. No, you cannot click more than once. You can click only once. So we can see that the most popular answer is A, YouTube. YouTube is the most popular answer. We see that YouTube and Twitter are the most popular answers, which brings me to the next slide, Twitter. So what is Twitter? Twitter is a micro blogging tool, right? It enables user to send short characters or short messages called tweets. And using Twitter, we can notify learners about assignments, about due dates. We can post some supplementary enrichment materials. We can facilitate discussions. And using Twitter, learners can ask questions, share information, and answer questions. All right. To find someone on Twitter, you should type the person's name right here. Okay. You should type the person's name into the search box at the top of your Twitter homepage, and your results will show a combination of people and tweets related to your search. All right. So if I want to follow Bill Gates, right? If I want to follow Bill Gates, right? I simply click the follow button, right? When you see it next to Bill Gates' photo, right? I click the follow button next to his photo, right? To follow Bill Gates. All right. We're now going to watch a short YouTube video about best practices in Twitter. All right, we're going to watch a short video about best practices in Twitter. All right, while watching the video, please note down at least 4 ways in which Twitter facilitates communication and increases engagement. Right, so while watching, note down or identify or write down at least 4 ways in which Twitter facilitates communication and creates a more engaging learning environment in online and blended courses. All right.
Reducing some social barriers that exist within the classroom. Students ask questions about the course material, and topics. So this first best practice draws on those 2 principles in order to increase engagement. It's also nice because multiple students might be the same question, so we can opportunity of the community. So you want that information, you want to use students as frequently as you can in order to stimulate the conversation and reflection. Next up, also is the sense of understanding the process that's going on and students to tap into. So ask for the instructor to create a preference for the students, so the students have an understanding of what the instructor is, what he or she is interested in, and it's sort of some kind of instructor to students latch on to the instructor, more ability to ask students to use Twitter for discussing. This is particularly useful because when students begin to share their
All right. So how can we use Twitter to facilitate communication and increase engagement, ladies and gentlemen? We can use Twitter to facilitate communication because Twitter encourages students to ask questions about the course. Students can post questions or tweet questions about the course, about the homework assignment, about the upcoming tests, about the upcoming exams. So they can use Twitter to ask questions about the course. Teachers can also share relevant materials such as blog posts, articles, photos, and videos related to the course and upcoming assignments. We can use Twitter as a forum to discuss class assignments, to answer questions about upcoming exams, about the upcoming tests, about the midterm, about the final test, about projects. So we can use Twitter as a forum to discuss class assignments and answer questions about the upcoming tests. We can also use Twitter to communicate with experts in relevant fields, to communicate with Bill Gates, to communicate with computer scientists, to communicate with authors, to ask them questions, to tweet questions to those experts, and to share their answers with our followers or with our classmates. Even with President Trump, Jay, absolutely. We can also create a list of scholars in relevant fields for students to follow. We can create a list of authors, create a list of scientists. We can create a list of musicians for students to follow. Jay, I'm not sure if I would add Mr. Trump to that list. And we can use Twitter to remind students of assignments and deadlines. All right. A deep thinking scientist. All right. So let's launch the next poll questions, ladies and gentlemen. What you see on your screen is a list of ways in which Twitter facilitates communication and increases engagement. This time, we want to know which communication practice you find most relevant for your classroom. We want to talk about your students. We want to talk about your classroom. So which communication practice you find most relevant for your classroom? Please place your vote. I will give you a few seconds to do this. Which communication practice you find most relevant for your classroom? All right. And we see that the most popular answer is B, sharing relevant material such as blog posts, articles, photos, and videos. So many of you are using Twitter to share information with your students. We also encourage you to use Twitter to communicate with experts in relevant fields, right? To follow experts in relevant fields and to share information about upcoming assignments and projects. All right. So let's look at an example showing how Twitter can be used to promote creative learning. We want our students to be creative. We want to promote creative learning. So let's look at how we can promote creative learning using Twitter. If you teach history, you may want to ask your students to identify a historical figure who you would like to use with your learners, like Benjamin Franklin. The historical figure should link to a topic you already teach. There has to be a connection between, your weekly assignments or your course objectives and the historical figure that you want your students to follow. You should ask your students to prepare a list of questions that they should ask that historical figure. All right. Okay. Now, this is a great activity. Right, this is a great activity for the study of history, right? Sending questions or interviewing a historical figure. This is a great activity also for study of science and technology, right? You can interview inventors or explorers, all right? Now, let's look at the next slide, all right? So, after your students have prepared the list of questions, right, they can send the questions, right, to that historical figure. They can send the questions to Benjamin Franklin, right, by clicking on tweet to Benjamin Franklin. All right, so they can send their questions to Benjamin Franklin, who will answer their questions within a few seconds. Now, I'm using an example of a historical figure. However, this is a great activity also for the study of science and technology. If you're a science teacher, you can ask your students to tweet questions to a famous inventor like Thomas Edison. And if you're a geography teacher, you can ask your students to conduct an interview with a famous explorer like Marco Polo. All right. Now, the interview should be conducted via Twitter, right? This includes tweeting questions to famous explorers and tweeting the answers to your followers or to your classmates. In other way, this should be like a two-way communication, tweeting your question to the historical figure or to Marco Polo, then tweeting the answers to your followers. All right. Okay. All right. And I'm now going to hand it over to our special guest speaker, Mr. Howie Gordon, who is going to explain how language learning can be facilitated through YouTube. Howie, over to you.
I'm hoping that people can hear me. I could ask you, if you can't hear me, to just tell me, but then that would defeat the object. Thank you for joining us today. The slide seems a bit unclear, but just to briefly remind each other that YouTube is one of the fastest growing searches today. It bypasses many of the older searches. It puts in its pocket Bing, Ask, AOL, and Y. billion people are using internet every day. Over 100 hours of videos are uploaded every minute. I mean, it's completely fascinating. Even the children at my school, and I teach at an elementary school, are moving over to YouTube as a way of finding information and looking into the things that they're saving, which I'll talk about in a minute or two. So how do we use the internet in my school? How do we use the YouTube in my school? So I'm very much aware that the children of today need instant gratification. Often they will walk into the classroom and say, "Okay, what's happening now? What's happening now?" When I ask them to do something, they say, "No, we're a bit shy. We don't really want to. We don't really want to participate." And I find in my classes where I've got 30 to 35 children, a good way that I can get to hear them, actually record them, is if they do things on YouTube. And what I mean by that, I'll show you in a minute or two. So in my classes, the children become teachers through YouTube. When I teach a grammar rule, I ask the children to record themselves teaching the rule, and then we listen to it in the class, and we go through the different videos that the children create. We also flip the classroom, whereby I will record a video, put it on YouTube, and the children will look at the video at home and rehearse the work, look at the work, and then come back into the class the next day, and we work with them. Nelly, I agree with you. It's unbelievable the fact that the students become the teachers, and it takes down my workload. And what I'm doing, instead of teaching the work, I'm facilitating the children to be able to teach. And it's phenomenal the difference it makes in the class. The beauty of YouTube with the playlist is that I create a bank of lessons, and we've got a number of lessons that the children have created. And at any moment through our internet site, they can go there and look at the different lessons if they want to look for present simple, present progressive. I can't give you an example of that, but I'm going to give you an example of other things that we've recorded. I wasn't able to put that up. But what's important is the stage fright. A lot of the children find that they won't speak in class, yet they do speak to the camera. Today, most of the children, believe it or not, have got better phones than me, and I tend to be one of the more advanced technological person in the school. The children are hey and vav, they are 5th and 6th grade children. I'm going to show you an example of 3rd grade kids also taking part in videos, but mostly the teachers that I talk about are 4th and 5th graders, 5th and 6th graders. So it's very easy for a child to take his cell phone and do the selfie. The only command that I give them is they cannot film vertically. If they film vertically, I'm not going to use their video. They have to film horizontally, otherwise it's near to impossible to edit the movie. So one of my solutions for too many kids in class is that we have an opportunity for the children to produce things on the video, which I'll show you in a second. So what I'd like to do is just show you the video that I made with my 3rd graders. I found that they were not responding to me well. We started off the year, and while I was riding home one day, I had the song from Frozen, the movie, running in my head. And I thought, what a great way to encourage the kids to speak and sing English. So this is a video that I prepared with the kids. The kids learned the words, the kids read, and I'm just going to play it for you in a second. I also it's important for me to be part of the video, that the kids don't think that the only ones making fools of themselves. So here we go. I just wanted to start at the beginning. I'm switching off my microphone.
Howie, we can't hear you.
Microphone back. I filmed that in the classroom. The filming took one lesson. The kids were absolutely amazing. I said to them that I don't think they can do it because um, I was quite amazed with them. I'll talk about the parental permission in a second. The kids were fantastic. I filmed them with a green screen. When I edited the video, I took the green screen off. In other words, everything that was green I rubbed off, and I put the movie behind. In terms of permissions, I'm working in education, and I imagine that if anybody had a problem with me using the frozen video, then they would speak to me. But in terms of the parents' permission, I got each parent to sign a letter saying that this video will be used for purposes other than the class. In other words, I'll be using it to teach teachers. And there wasn't one parent that said it was a problem. There was one kid who said that her teeth were showing a bit too much and she had a problem with it, but her parents said it was fine, and we let it go. At the beginning of the year, we asked for parents' permission to allow us to use the videos, and they have it. It's on our school site, but other than that, it's not on any public YouTube. In other words, it's listed only for the school site. But I'd like more people to see. I'm a big. I don't like to bend the rules, but I'm very much in favor of let's show and let people see what we do. So that was the one idea of these were third grade kids with very basic English. From the little kid who knocked on the door who wasn't prepared to say any English word, to the girl who's a native speaker who at the end said she knows what she has to do. But it was really a lot of fun, and I've got the kids eating out of my hand now, and no matter what I do, they just refer back to that video that day when I changed their lives. So thank you, Nelly, for I agree with you. I wish that more teachers would do that. It really wasn't a lot of effort. It does take a little bit of practice to know how to use a green screen, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, so another two things that I've done in the past, it definitely does build relationships, and it definitely builds relationships between the teacher and the pupils. We have as part of our school curriculum, we have and part of the Jewish agency, we connected with schools overseas. And we are connected with a group from South Africa. We have a school in South Africa that we are connected with. And one of the ideas that we do is that, once again, I don't get to hear my children enough in class. So I say to them, okay, you've got a cell phone, you've got a smartphone, go home and film me. That's the homework. Film something for me. So I told the children to go home and film themselves in their home environment, so that they'll introduce themselves to the key pals in South Africa. And this is what one of the children presented. And I'm going to switch my microphone off, hoping that I'll remember to put it back on in the end. Okay, so that that was one of the students that made a video for overseas, and all the students did that. And obviously the level of Hebrew to the level of English is different. The kids do as much as they can. Some of them speak a little bit in Hebrew because you are communicating with a Jewish day school, but still I try and encourage the most amount of English that can be spoken. What I'm getting out of it is that the children are actually speaking pure English, and they're not afraid to do it in front of the camera. What I get out of it is that I hear them doing this, and it's just the most amazing thing, hearing them speak naturally, because in class they're just too afraid to do it. And for what it's worth, the kids tell me that I don't give homework when I give them something like this. It's amazing that they do it with absolute pleasure, and I get great results from the parents. The final thing that I want to show you is that we in our books that we use in school, there's always a unit on food. I mean, what would a school book be without a unit on food? And this unit was a unit about the kids created restaurants, and I asked the kids, once again, it was a different class, and I said, take your phones home and show me yourselves cooking in your home. I'm amazed to see that their kitchens are a lot more clean, or maybe they cleaned it for the day, but their kitchens are cleaner than mine. But have a look at what these two kids did. And once again, I put myself in the video. Sorry, this kid made orange juice outside. Let me just go into. Hang on.
Well done, fifth graders. You made the most amazing food.
I'm just moving it forward to the. Here's the kid making orange juice. I'm trying to get to the right number. Sorry.
Hello, David.
The video, and I put it together, but they all sent to me the link in YouTube.
Goodbye.
Okay, so the last, sorry, let me just switch the video off. The last thing that I want to tell you is the idea of Edpuzzle. Once I have the videos, I use Edpuzzle to write questions on the videos for the children to relate to. And it's really a lot of fun when someone else is asking them questions about the things that they've done. And overall, the use of YouTube in the classroom is it's used a lot, and we really enjoy it. Thank you, Nelly. The final thing that I want to say is that, yes, we have to be careful in terms of using YouTube with kids all over the YouTube, but we have got our own domain in Google Education, the Google Education apps, and it's as closed as we can make it so that only the children and their parents can get involved and in the site. That's all for now. Welcome questions perhaps later, and thank you for listening. Back to you, Danny.
Thank you for sharing with us all those great ideas. Thank you, Howie. So YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, as well as Twitter, is a great way, a great tool for promoting active and engaging learning. A common mistake policymakers and program coordinators often make is that they invest a huge amount of money in equipping schools, with the latest technology, and then they start asking themselves, okay, now what? What are we going to do with this new toy we have? I've been traveling around the world for nearly 2 decades, visiting schools which invest a lot of money in equipping classrooms with the latest technology. There are, however, schools, that are not taking full advantage of the great tools they have. And why is that? This is because lack of alignment between pedagogy and technology. Remember, the purpose of new technologies and social media is to fulfill a set of predefined learning objectives. Pedagogy should drive the learning process, never the other way around. So the purpose of social media activities and new technologies is to fulfill a set of predefined learning goals. All right. Once those predefined learning goals are defined, all right, we should we should choose a social media tool or new technology to help us achieve or meet those goals, never the other way around. Now, social media activities should always lead to meaningful outcome, to an end product, or to a meaningful outcome. For instance, a YouTube video, or the videos that Howie students have produced, is a meaningful learning outcome, a product, right, which can be posted, which can be uploaded to the school a YouTube channel. And finally, social media activities should promote active learning and collaboration, right? Learning is a social process, right? So in order to make learning more meaningful, more effective, right, we should use active learning and collaboration. I'm now going to give an example of an activity where I'm going to give an example, use an example of an activity where the social media activity fulfills a set of clearly defined learning goals. The activity is meant to be used by grade 8 chemistry students. However, these guidelines can also be used by teachers of other subjects. So when designing a social media enhanced activity, the first step is defining a set of clearly defined learning objectives. So in this activity for grade 8 chemistry students, right, we have 4 primary objectives. The first one is to identify differences between acids and bases. This is our first learning objective. The second objective is to identify common acids and bases. Third one is to match the pH numbers with commonly found acids and bases. And the fourth objective is to promote communication and collaboration. Now, let me ask you this. How could you assess learners on this topic using social media? Which tool would you use to assess whether or not the learning objectives, the predefined learning objectives, have been met? Please answer the questions in the chat. How can we assess learners on this topic, on using social media? How can we identify, or how can we assess whether students know the differences between acids and bases, or identify common acids and bases? Which social media tool would you use to assess whether the learning objectives have been met? Would you use YouTube? Would you use Facebook, Twitter, blogs, wikis to assess whether those learning objectives have been achieved, have been met? Which social media tools would you use? You would create videos, Nelly? Absolutely. You can create YouTube videos, or you can ask students to create a YouTube videos, right, on the differences between acids and bases, right? And then you could post or upload those videos to the school YouTube channel. Absolutely, right? We can create YouTube channels, wikis, blogs, YouTubes. Absolutely. We can create a wiki page, all right? Which brings me to my next slide. All right, students can create a wiki page, right, or a wiki, which includes the following information: the differences between acids and bases, examples of common acids and bases in their pH numbers. Now, again, one of the primary objectives of this activity, if we go back to the previous slides, number 4, promoting communication and collaboration. Promoting communication and collaboration. And therefore, learners should work in groups, right, to complete the task. We should ask our learners to work in groups in order to complete the task. All right. Now, before the activity, we should divide learners into groups of 4. All right. We should assign each learner with a role, right? One student be the designer, right? Someone else should be the content researcher or the writer or the proofreader. We should assign each learner with a role, and their roles, ladies and gentlemen, should reflect or should match their interests as well as their areas of strength, right? Someone who is good at proofing or proofreading, right, should be the proofreader. Someone who is good at, let's say, designing or conducting research should be the content researcher. All right, so students should be assigned with a role which reflects their strength and their their interests. We need to ensure that learners understand what the role entails, right? So we should provide step-by-step guidelines on how to design the layout of the wiki page, right? We should give examples of how to create those wikis. We should provide some detailed guidelines, step-by-step guidelines on how to create and proofread those wikis. Now, in order to familiarize or in order to help students create those wikis, we should use some of those wikis, which can be, I'll show you one of those wiki pages. No, let's do this. Let's copy the, sorry. Yeah, so we're now looking at a sample wiki page, right? This is a sample wiki page. We can use this page to add, to modify, or delete content. This can be done in collaboration with others, okay? So before assigning the wiki or the task, right, we should assign each learner with a role. We should ensure that learners understand what their role entails. We should give them guidelines as to how to use the wiki, how to add, modify, or delete content from the wiki page. All right. Now, while working on the project, while creating the wiki, right, learners can add information by clicking on the edit button, right? Now, we should set clear learning objectives and outcomes for this activity, right? And make learners know what they will be assessed on using an assessment rubric. We need to share the assessment rubric with our students when assigning the task. We shouldn't be, hiding the assessment rubrics from our students. We should share those rubrics with our students. We need to present the assessment criteria to our students, learners can communicate with each other using the social media tools. All right, so let's look at the rubric that I've created for this task. All right, I've created this rubric for this wiki project. All right, and please note that the assessment criteria, right, or the rubrics, the assessment rubrics, they match the predefined learning objectives. Right. If you remember, one of the first or the primary learning objective of this project was to identify the differences between acids and bases. All right. So if you look at the first column right here, or the first row, where it says understanding of the subject matter, right here, we assess whether students have fully or partially understand the differences between acids and bases. All right, so the rubric, ladies and gentlemen, must be aligned or should reflect your learning objectives. Now, one of the learning objectives of this assignment was to promote communication and collaboration. Now, if you look at this row at the bottom, communication and collaboration, we use this assessment criteria to assess whether students, whether the group work well together and communicated frequently using the social media tools. All right, so we need to make sure that the course assessment criteria are aligned with the predefined learning objectives. All right, so we should also promote reflection, and we should encourage learners to reflect on their learning, right? This could be done through tweeting, right? Again, we could use tweeters to reflect or for self-reflection, all right? And we should ask a few questions to encourage learners to reflect on their assignment. What did you enjoy most about the activity? What did you enjoy least about the activity, right? And we should use the students' feedback and comments in order to make, you know, adjustments or fine-tuning to the assignment. All right. So to recap, in order to effectively implement a social media enhanced activity, we should set measurable learning goals, right? We should set measurable learning goals. We should design a social media activity which is aligned with the intended learning outcomes. So if we're teaching, you know, if you're teaching, let's say history, all right, then we should use Twitter, right, to tweet questions to historical figures like Benjamin Franklin. If you're teaching, if you're a chemistry teacher, then you should ask students to identify, you know, differences between acids and bases and post their answers on a wiki or on a blog, right? If you're an EFL teacher, if you're a language teacher, right, you should ask students to produce those videos, all right? And we should promote active learning and collaboration by, you know, having students, by dividing students into groups of 4 and having them, you know, post their answers on the wiki. We should assign each learner with a role and ensure learners understand what their role entails, right? We should ensure that, we need to make sure that students' roles match their interests, reflect their interests, their areas of strength, and that students are capable of doing their, you know, what they're supposed to, what they need to do. I mean, and finally, we should use assessment rubrics which match the learning objectives. Assessment must be aligned with instruction. Assessment should reflect the predefined learning objectives. All right, and finally, effective learning process or a mindful learning process is a learning process where the learning objectives or the course assessment requirements are aligned with the learning objectives, right? There has to be a connection between the course assessment requirements and the course learning objectives. And we use the social media tools, right? We should use the social media tool, right, in order to help us achieve or meet those learning objectives and never the other way around, all right? We should use the social media tools, all right, in order to achieve predefined learning objectives, pedagogical objectives, right? Pedagogy should drive the learning process and never the other way around. All right, and now I will hand it over to our special guest speaker, Mr. Howie Gordon, all right, who's going to talk about Edmodo. Howie, over to you.
Thank you. So not to be confused with Edmodo, which is an exercise application, which I've been sitting for an hour and I think I could do a bit of exercise. If you want to just shake your hands a bit and move around just to wake you up a bit. But I must tell you that using the Edmodo came out of, I had a problem with getting children to interact over the internet at a time when children were not allowed to use Facebook at all. And I say not allowed to because, thank you, Jay, I can feel the move. I can feel the shake. Children are not allowed to use Facebook. And I'm saying then they weren't allowed because children, without a doubt, in most schools that I know, don't take that advice and use the social media, although Facebook is, from what I understand, is out, and Instagram and all sorts of other things, Instush, and all sorts of things are in. So, Nelly, what you say is very true, and I have this a lot when I teach the teachers that I teach. They say, "But I'm stuck with one thing," and I say, "Well, keep doing that. Go with what you know." Moodle, I understand is I can't use in the primary schools, so I stick with Edmodo. For the last 2 years, I haven't used Edmodo because of my job changed and I've had all sorts of other commitments. But I'm going to talk about the things that I spoke about before and show you how we used Edmodo. So for those of you who don't know Edmodo, Edmodo is a great learning management system. Now, you're right. I mean, there is no such thing as a great LMS, but it certainly meets the needs that I need for the children because it's so simple, and the things that I need for the children to do are to hear what I say, write what relate to what I do, and then post it. Today I use Google Docs, Google Classroom a lot more, and slowly it's, in my opinion, it's overtaking Edmodo. But I'm not sure entirely whether Google Classroom was a social media, so I'd prefer to show you Edmodo. So it brings together all parts of the triangle: the student, the teacher, the parent. Once we create user accounts for the student, the parents also get involved, and any interaction is between the three of us. It's very user-friendly. Full collaboration with Google Apps or Google Suite. In other words, anything I can drag and drop from Google, and it's really easy with that. It still has a Facebook feel to it. So when the kids felt, when I said you cannot go into Facebook, we kind of said, well, but you can go into Edmodo, and they said, well, it looks close enough. We can be part of that. And it's very much teacher controlled or monitor controlled. At times I had children being monitored. I have to say, when I had 5 classes using Edmodo, there was no way I could keep control over what was said in the chat. But I had monitors that did a good enough job, and they would tell me if a kid said something that shouldn't be, and we would rub it out or deal with the things that were said. At times it was they were speaking in Hebrew in an English forum, or I agree with you. Homeschool children have got a problem with Google Classes. Not fun. Assignments are issued, online participation and online notation, where children can take a document and work on it and change and send it back. And it's inside the Edmodo. There are interactive quizzes and polls, and you can certainly branch out to Quizlet or Socrative or to any other online quiz that teachers would like to use. So just some examples that I've done in the past. In Classroom, I'm not sure if you can see everything. This was a tour where the children of our school in the high school were going to America for a school exchange program. And the children in America were coming back here, and they had a constant forum going backwards and forwards. Things you should bring to Israel. It was at the time of the summer: swimsuit, altush, which is against the mosquitoes, sunscreen, and of course chocolate for the Israelis that suffer from lack of chocolate. And then the Israelis would recommend the Herman is a fun place, and that you could add your document and so on over here. I also use this with teacher development, where the teachers, this was before I got introduced to the Moodle. Today, when I teach teachers, I use the Moodle, but before I found the Edmodo served its purpose, and I used the Edmodo as a modeling for the teachers that they could there go and take it into the schools. Some of the teachers swear by it today. Some of the teachers said they didn't get into it. As I'm seeing that Nelly spoke about Schoology, there's all sorts of things that people can look at. Edmodo is just one of the things that I've used, and it works. But there's all sorts of other things that you can get into. And the slide is not changing for some reason. Looks like it's stuck. Sorry, I went too far. Must have been something that I said about Edmodo, because I got kicked out entirely. Can you hear me now again? Can I just have some sort of a sign, hand up, something? Anyone? Okay, great. Thank you, Zahava. So the final thing that I wanted to tell you, it seems to be it's jamming for some reason. I don't know why it's doing that. So the other thing I wanted to, there we go. Sorry, Aria, can you see what's going on? Why it's jamming? Oh, come on. Zahava, can you still hear me?
Howie, I can hear you. You can go ahead. Go ahead, Ari.
So I don't know what happened to the slide. The last slide just disappeared. But basically, what I asked the kids to do was here we go. So I just need slide 33, 34. That's it. What I asked the children to do was to prepare the menus and the recipes that they did. And this time what they did is that they prepared the food at home without the video. This was before they did the video, and they brought the recipe through the Edmodo, and they brought the food the next day, and we were grateful that all the food was brought, and the children enjoyed working with it. It certainly does create some sort of a barrier between you and the children. It's less. The children prefer it less to the stuff that they can do on YouTube, and today with WhatsApp and things, although I'm not in connection with the kids with WhatsApp, but with Google Classroom and the YouTube stuff that they do, they have less use for the Edmodo. But it certainly is an amazing tool, should definitely not be discarded and thrown aside, and it's worth a look at. And it's developing all the time. I was part of the one of the seminars that they did, online seminars, where I learned a fortune, got my certificate, and it really is an interesting way to go. I certainly recommend it for elementary schools where the social media is pretty much limited to them. So I'm sorry it got stuck, and I thank you very much for inviting me. I've thoroughly enjoyed this session, and I look forward to the end and hearing questions if there are any. Thank you.
Danny, how can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
Danny, I'm sending it back to you. Danny? For some reason, it just got stuck near the end. I don't know what happened. Nelly, thank you for all your comments throughout. It was really, really appreciative.
Danny with us?
I don't know, Danny. Don't know what happened with Danny. My screen's frozen. Yeah, Danny's back.
How are you finished?
I'm finished. Yeah, my last slide got stuck, so I can't get it. But I'm finished basically. Danny, you're on.
Danny, can you hear us?
No, the earlier video is not playing at all. It shouldn't make a difference.
Hello, can you hear me, Arya? Howie,
Yeah,
can you hear me?
hear you.
Yeah. No, my screen was frozen. My screen was frozen. All right, so sorry about that. Howie, thank you, Howie. So social media, ladies and gentlemen, is engaging. Social media is fun, and the question is it effective? Does social media work? All right, so let's look at what research says about social media. In a study conducted 3 years ago, the use of Twitter for teaching was considered. 252 undergraduate students in business and management were encouraged to use Twitter for communication with their teacher And
Danny, Arya, can you wait, please?
Yeah.
Wait, please. I just want to check the video files.
But I'm yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is okay.
All right. So 252 undergrad students in business and management were encouraged to use Twitter for communication with their teachers and each other during a 12-week period. Now, their involvement was evaluated using a survey, an electronic survey, considering the amount of Twitter usage and students' attitude and experiences. Now, the data was carefully analyzed by the researcher. Now, let's look at the findings. Let's look at the main findings. All right, these findings, the main findings show that there was a connection or a correlation between the amount of Twitter usage and students' engagement in course-related activity. All right. In other words, there was a strong positive correlation or connection between Twitter usage and student engagement. All right. And the researchers found that Twitter was well received. Right. The vast majority of the students, nearly 60% of the students, said that they would like to see the use of Twitter extended in future courses. And finally, using Twitter didn't make students less likely to attend lectures. In other words, the fact that students were using Twitter, right? Actually, the students got engaged. They were engaged. They used the social media tools more often. And despite the fact that Twitter was optional, it didn't count towards the final grade. It wasn't part of the course assessment. Students used the Twitter. Students used social media throughout this 12-week period, despite the fact that it wasn't part of the final grade. In other words, if the activity is engaging, if the activity is motivating, if it's fun, all right, students would do it. Students will do it even if it doesn't count towards the final grade. All right. So Howie and I would like to encourage you. We would like to encourage you to use social media. We would like to encourage your students to use social media. Social media should be carefully aligned or integrated into the classroom. All right. It should reflect your predefined learning objectives. And you should create assessment rubrics to assess whether or how many of the predefined learning objectives have been achieved. All right. So again, set your measurable learning goals. Design the social media activity. Promote active learning. Assign each learner with a role and ensure that students are active. And use assessment rubrics which match the learning objectives. All right. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you very much for joining our webinar. And if there are any questions, Howie and I will be happy to answer them. Are there any questions?
Danny, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Do we know if students from elementary school or high school use social media after the day school for learning? Social media such WhatsApp, Facebook, and the others.
Yeah, the answer is yes. The answer is yes, that students use social media tools during and after school hours, right? Even if, the social media tools or the social media activities do not count toward the final grade, students are more likely to do those or to complete those social media activities, right? If they're engaging, if they're motivating, and if they, if they're done in groups or in pairs. Howie.
Yes, I definitely know that in our school, a lot of the children you have cell phones, have smartphones, because we're a school that the children go on the buses. So we don't use the phones much at the school, as A, we're not allowed to, but B, we tend not to use the phones as much at school. However, the children are very much on WhatsApp, and I encourage the children to use the Google Docs, the Google Suite as much as possible. As when the children start work in school and they want to carry it on at home, our school, the children live on different settlements within a big municipality, and they have to be in touch with each other. So I encourage them, perhaps less so on the Facebook and that, which I've got no control over, but I've definitely got control over things like Edmodo and the Google Suite for education.
In one of my projects, I'm currently implementing a large-scale project in Peru, in rural Peru, where thousands of students are using a Facebook page, right, as part of an online English proficiency course. All right. Now the Facebook page is optional, right? So it doesn't count toward the final grade. This is not part of the course assessment, right? Students are encouraged to use the Facebook page. And because this is an online course with little or no face-to-face contact, students use this Facebook page every single day. They're posting messages, they're posting comments, they're posting, links to their personal, YouTube channels. They're reading and commenting on peers' posts. They're posting, uploading videos to this Facebook page. And what's interesting about this Facebook group is that, again, it doesn't count toward the final grade. However, students make regular use of this Facebook page, especially since there is no face-to-face contact. So in a way, the Facebook page, is replacing their classroom, right? The Facebook page is their classroom. So I think that, social media tools have a great value, especially in online learning environments where there is little or no face-to-face contact. Now, teachers in this online learning environment are using the Facebook page in order to make announcements, right? In order to make announcements about upcoming events, exams, about upcoming, tests, or deadlines or due dates. So they're using the Facebook page to serve three aims or three goals: pedagogical, administrative, and social. They're using the Facebook page to serve those three goals: pedagogical, administrative, and social. One of the greatest challenges that students face in online learning environments is this sense of loneliness and isolation. So by using this Facebook group or online learning environment, we eliminate or reduce the student's sense of isolation by encouraging or promoting interaction and group work through this Facebook page. So this is one of the main reasons why we encourage students to use the Facebook page to minimize students' sense of isolation and loneliness, which is often associated with online courses. As for the pedagogical reason or pedagogical aims, teachers use the Facebook page also to provide additional examples, explanations related to, the course assignments or course materials. All right. And finally, in terms of like the administrative goals of this Facebook page, teachers use the Facebook page to make announcements, right? To make announcements about, important, dates or events or upcoming exams or assignments or projects that need to be, completed or submitted by a certain date or time. So they use the Facebook page as a learning community, which serves three goals: pedagogical, administrative, and social.
Thank you, Danny. Does anyone have any question to Danny or to Howie? Okay. Finally, a few words. First of all, thank you for joining our seminar. We had the 4 lectures at the seminar. And I hope you found them interesting and contribute to your professional knowledge. During the next week, we will send you a link to the recordings. In addition, a feedback form. It is important for us to receive your feedback. Next month begins a new semester at MOFET's Online Academy. We will send you information about our online courses and hope to see you, our students. Again, I want to thank to Danny and Howie for interesting lecture. And as I said, we hope to see you in our next webinars, online seminars, and our online courses. So thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Dan. Thank you, Howie.
Thank you, Howie. Thank you, Arya. And have a pleasant afternoon or evening.
Weekend.
Weekend. I'm heading to the airport, so all right. So thank you, Howie.
Pleasure. Thank you, Danny, for everything, and we'll be in touch.
We will. Thank you, Arya.
Thank you, Arya.
Bye, Danny. Bye, Howie.
Bye. Bye.